She had promised herself she wouldn't cry. Not tonight. Not in this quiet little cafe where the soft hum of distant conversations blended with the smell of warm pastries and freshly ground coffee. But as Emily Hart sat alone at the small wooden table, fingers wrapped around a cooling cup, her heart felt like it was sinking, inch by inch, into a familiar ache. She stared at the empty seat across from her. The seat that was supposed to be filled by someone who claimed he wanted to meet her, someone who said he liked her smile, someone who said he was ready for a fresh start. He was late. Too late. And with every passing minute, she realized what she didn't want to admit: she had been stood up again. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected blessings, make sure to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. Emily tried to swallow the tightness forming in her throat. At 33, she had grown used to disappointments, plans cancelled last minute, promises never kept, people who walked out before anything real could begin. She had been married once, years ago, to a man who had slowly forgotten how to love her. Leaving him felt like stepping off a cliff, terrifying but necessary. Tonight, she had dared to hope that maybe life was beginning to shift again, gently nudging her towards something new. But now, as she sat alone with the truth settling in her chest, she wondered if she had misread the signs yet again. Outside the cafe window, she watched cars pass by, their reflections sliding across the glass like fleeting memories. Families walked past holding hands. Couples leaned close to share their secrets. And she was just Emily, alone, overlooked, waiting for a man who didn't think she was worth showing up for. Just as she began to gather her purse and prepare for the familiar walk back to her quiet apartment, she saw movement near her table, small shoes, the soft thump of little steps. She looked up, startled, and saw a boy, maybe 7 years old, with sandy blonde hair, bright brown eyes, and a denim jacket a size too big. He stopped right beside her chair, staring at her with an unfiltered curiosity only children possess. Behind him, a tall man in his mid-30s hurried forward, looking both apologetic and slightly out of breath, as if he had been juggling 100 things at once. But before the man could speak, the boy lifted his face to Emily and said with the innocent honesty that only children could pull off, "You're prettier than the photo." Emily froze. The boy's father froze. And for a moment, the world seemed to pause, holding its breath with them. The man stepped closer, gently placing a guiding hand on the boy's shoulder. His voice was low, warm, and filled with genuine mortification as he spoke. She could tell he wasn't scolding the boy, just embarrassed. But Emily didn't mind. In fact, the unexpected comment made her heart flutter in a way she hadn't felt in years. It tugged a smile out of her, soft at first, then growing until her cheeks warmed with it. She found herself staring at the man, and everything inside her shifted. He wasn't exceptionally polished or rehearsed like the men she often met online. There was no slick charm, no perfect hair, no forced grin meant to impress. Instead, he looked real. Someone who had lived, who had carried burdens, who had weathered storms. His white shirt was neatly pressed, but his sleeves were slightly creased like he had hurried to get here. His beard was trimmed but not sharply edged, his expression handsome yet gentle, and a hint of tiredness lingered around his eyes, not from disinterest, but from responsibility. He introduced himself awkwardly, explaining how he hadn't wanted to bring his son along but his sitter had cancelled last minute, and he didn't want to risk Emily waiting again. He had considered calling to reschedule, but something in him told him not to. Something in him told him to come, even if the circumstances weren't ideal. Emily's disappointment slowly untangled itself. Her loneliness eased, little by little, replaced by something fragile and warm. She invited them both to sit, and the boy, whose name was Noah, grinned as he climbed into the chair opposite her, legs too short to reach the floor. His father, Daniel, sat beside him, looking both grateful and nervous. Emily learned that Daniel had lost his wife 3 years earlier to a sudden illness. He had been raising Noah alone while working as a project manager in a construction firm in Seattle. Dating had been hard for him, not because he didn't want connection, but because he was always torn between opening his heart and protecting his son. He worried that no woman would accept the complexities that came with loving a single father. He worried he wasn't ready. He worried he wasn't enough. And Emily listened. Not out of politeness, but out of genuine care. Unlike so many people she had dated before, Daniel didn't present a polished version of himself. He didn't pretend to have everything figured out. He didn't hide behind charm or pretense. He was simply honest. Real. Vulnerable. Something in Emily softened, like ice thawing after a long winter. Meanwhile, Noah chattered with the uninhibited joy of a child who had decided Emily was already his friend. He told her about school, about his dog, about the Lego spaceship he was building, and how he thought Emily's dress made her look like a princess. Every now and then, Daniel tried to gently quiet him, but Emily shook her head, insisting it was perfectly fine. Noah made her laugh, really laugh, the kind of warm, unrestrained laughter she hadn't felt in far too long. As the minutes passed, the awkwardness dissolved. The three of them talked as if they had known each other longer than an hour. Emily found herself relaxing, leaning into the moment, letting the walls around her heart loosen. Still, fear lingered beneath the surface. She had been hurt before. Misled before. Abandoned before. And Daniel sensed it. He met her eyes with a sincerity that made her chest tighten. In his gaze, she saw not a man trying to impress her, but a man hoping, for connection, for healing, for the chance to be understood. When the waitress arrived with fresh drinks, Noah reached across the table, handing Emily a sugar packet he claimed was lucky. Emily took it, letting her fingers brush his small hand, and something inside her cracked open. A flicker of hope she wasn't ready for but desperately needed. They talked for nearly 2 hours. The cafe emptied around them, the sun began to dip behind the city buildings, casting soft golden light through the wide windows. It painted Emily's hair in a warm glow, and Daniel couldn't help but look at her, really look at her, as if memorizing the moment. Emily noticed. And she looked away before her heart betrayed her too soon. Eventually, Daniel apologized for keeping her so long. He insisted he didn't want to overstay, especially since he knew she had expected a simple, quiet coffee date. But Emily didn't mind. She hadn't expected this unexpected warmth, this quiet comfort, this feeling that maybe she wasn't as alone as she had thought. As they gathered to leave, Noah tugged gently at Emily's sleeve. He looked up at her with wide, honest eyes and asked if she would come again someday. Emily knelt to meet him at eye level, smoothing a strand of hair